After you have created all the elements for a scenario and entered all their options, you're ready to review the calculation results. To see the results, open a scenario definition element and click the Calculations button to open a page that shows the entire scenario in spreadsheet format. The calculation process begins by validating the scenario elements. When editing individual elements, many of the fields can be left blank so you can come back and fill them in later. But the pre-calculation validation will check to ensure that all essential values have been provided, as well as some logic checks like making sure start years come before end years. If the validation routine finds any problems, the errors will be summarized so you can make the corrections and try again. When the scenario validation is successful, the results for the scenario will be displayed. Watch the video on calculation results for details on how to read and understand the calculations table. The first detail to check is to see if there is a positive balance at the end of the plan. If there isn't, this indicates that further adjustments to the scenario are needed so that the savings lasts until the client's life expectancies are reached. To make these adjustments, close the calculations window and revise the plan elements as necessary, then reopen the calculations page. Continue adjusting the elements until the calculations are acceptable. The calculations are always displayed one scenario at a time. Compare the results for all the scenarios in a single view. Click the Graphs button to open the graph page. This makes it easy to see which scenarios deliver the best results. Like opening the calculations page, opening the Graphs page will also validate the currently selected scenario, as well as any other scenarios that haven't been validated since they were last edited. If the validations are successful, the Graphs page will be displayed. By default, all the scenarios are included in the graph, with the scenarios listed below the graph. To temporarily remove a scenario from the graph, click the Hide button next to the scenario name. For any scenarios not currently shown on the graph, this button will have the caption Show. Just click that button to add the scenario back to the graph. To completely remove the scenario from the graph and the scenario list, open the scenario element and set its graph sequence value to 0. There are a couple of details to note about the graphs page. First, the scenarios are color-coded to make them easy to identify on the graph. The color of each scenario is shown in the scenario listing below the graph. Second, if a scenario includes a bear market simulation, the line for that scenario is shown as a dashed line for the duration of the bear market. This makes it easy to point out the effects of the bear market to your clients. If you need to review all the elements in your plan, either to check all the inputs or discuss the elements with your clients, you could open them one by one and examine them. But an easier way to do this is to use the Summary feature. Open the Scenario Definition element and click on the Summary button in the toolbar. This will display a set of tables, one for each of the element types. You can then examine these tables to see all the elements and their settings on a single page.